Hello and welcome back everyone to my third and final build for the Galeshot, for now at least. This time I focused on making this one very beginner friendly, but don't be fooled, because it's equally strong. Check it out. Alrighty guys, as you could see, just because it's simple, it doesn't mean it's weak. In fact, this one has the most evasion from all the previous versions, and thanks to the Greatsword, we also get extra mobility, defense in the form of blocks, some decent CC and melee burst. I also think it's the one with the highest flexibility in case you want to swap things around a little bit, but more of that for later. Without further ado, let's just break down the build, and we're gonna start with the traits, the pets, and the skills. If you've been around for a while, you know how strong and how much I like marksmanship and wilderness survival. But if you're a new one, here's why. Remorseless is going to make it so every time we gain fury, we're gonna have an opening strike, which means the next attack is gonna be stronger. Now, thanks to precise strike here, it's gonna be guaranteed crit. And now, thanks to wilderness knowledge and the fact that we're running a bunch of survival skills, this means that every time we use one of those survival skills, we're cleansing 2 conditions and regaining fury. This is very good and increased even further by lesser melee terrain that procs over here, meaning that one single press of the healing skill, it's already going to remove a bunch of conditions and give us fury. We also gain fury every time we swap pets thanks to Lesser Call of the Wild, Clarion Bone right here on marksmanship, with a 15-second cooldown. As you can see, the build is centered around having multiple sources of fury generation, so we're gonna be refreshing as much as we can this remorseless combo. But hold on a minute, because this build and these traits have even more cool interactions. I usually run marksmanship with Farsight for the pure damage, but this time I wanted to try Moment of Clarity. Our daze and stuns are gonna have increased duration, and every time we daze or stun, we're gonna proc attack of opportunity within a 10-second cooldown. This means our next attack has 25% extra damage. You can see where this is going because, well, we have multiple sources of dazes, one here, this guy here, although I think this one doesn't count for this, but we have at the very least one for the Warhorn, one guaranteed for the unblockable supersonic arrow on the Gale Bow, and also one for the heal patch on the Greatsword. Now, this is massively strong. You will see how much damage we deal with the Greatsword and how much damage you can pull off when you combine the Moment of Clarity with Remorseless and a guaranteed crit. That thing is gonna hit like a truck. But wait, there's still more. I'm sorry. For the Galeshot traits, I'm also running something different. I usually like to run Joy of Movement paired with mostly of my skills being Squalls, and I also like a lot Cloudburst. Now this is still a very strong combo, and you can actually use this same combination just swapping around a few skills here for a couple of squads, and you'd be fine. However, for the purpose of this one, I really wanted to play around with Feel the Rush, and oh boy, this one feels amazing. Well, this means that between the mobility skills which we have on every single weapon, we have one here with debates, by the way, we have 1 and 2 here, this one also has an evade window. Even on the Gale Bow we have an evade window and mobility that procs this trait right here. And while having the swiftness permanently up for free it's very cool, that's not necessarily the strongest part. The strongest component is the endurance gain. Now, when you combine that with natural vigor here on wilderness survival, and now you use this food right here, the cans of meat and winter vegetables too, that you can get easily from these food crates right there. Yeah, this is a massive endurance regeneration, and on top of the regeneration, flat out recovering 15 points every time you use a mobility skill. Which, in this build, as we have seen, it's gonna happen a lot. Oh, yeah, lightning reflexes also contributes to this. It's just massive. You're gonna be constantly evading. This is just so cool to play around with. And this is essentially how the build stays alive. Lots of mobility and tons of dodges. And the last trait of the Galeshot I wanted to talk about, it's Gale Force. I'm used to run with Cloudburst because of the convenience and how good it is. However, I really wanted to give this one a shot. Now, Gale Force is gonna keep giving you increased movement speed and damage as you play with your Gale Bow. As you're hitting skills with the Gale Bow, you gain those stacks, and those stacks give you bonus speed and damage. When you reach the threshold, the 5 stacks, and you gain the Hawkeye, you release that, and you consume it, transforming it into 10 seconds of Gale Force. That is massive increase in movement speed and 15% extra damage, which you could take into account whenever you're planning for a moment of clarity plus remorseless plus, you know, this damage stacking. Everything stacks and you hit really hard with whatever comes up next. I always like the idea behind Gale Force, and I'm really glad I tried it. However, there is a small flaw in the design. I have already mentioned this in my early videos for the Galeshot when we were on the beta. However, the mechanic where you gain those tiny feathers, those wind force stacks, it's gonna be reset if, let's say, you have to swap around a weapon just for defense or whatever. Now you need to switch and boom, there you go, you lose all of the stacks. So that's something a little bit doofy. Now with the new trait here, Thrill of the Catch, and the fact that we have a bunch of Daces and CC, it doesn't feel so bad because you're gonna be recovering those arrows and then you can just go again. However, it would be super cool if they made it not lose the stacks. Or even if you, let's say you don't want to make it super broken, and instead of, you know, saving all the stacks, you just lose 1 or 2. I think that would be a really nice addition. Not necessarily needed, but very cool. For the pets, as you can see, we're gonna be using this time the Chuck with this range days. It's actually pretty cool. I wanted to try this pet, a little bit annoying as it walks with the sound, but yeah, the days is really good. And of course the smoke scale for the stealth. Yeah, that's a mandatory. Now that is it for the pets, the traits and the skills and the synergy. Moving on to the gear setup, which is fairly similar to my previous builds, since in my opinion Galeshot performs better with a bit of wind duration and it barely loses any damage for it. We're gonna be using my classical combination of Berserker, Diviner, Marauder and Dragons. In this case we just have one Diviner headpiece and Diviner backpack. The rest is just Berserker, full gear and weapons, in this case using Superior Rune of the Pack, which, by the way, I usually run with Chronomancer, but somebody pointed out that Rune of the Pack is just the same but better. We have more wind duration and more precision, so thank you for that. The rest of the trinkets are, like I said, a little bit of dragons here, here and here, and these two are Marauder. If you want to, you can just go full Berserker, or feel free to experiment a little bit. I just like to run this little bit of extra HP so I don't get fully blown by hard-hitting builds. Relic of Zakiros, of course, for the sustain, and for the sigils I always run one sigil of energy on every set of weapons. In this case, for the greatsword, the secondary one, it's celerity, just because whenever we hit with the heal bash we gain 5 seconds of quickness, which goes a long way to proc this slow but strong maul, or whatever you want to do after you connect with the CC. For the Warhorn, I like to run Superior Sigil of Air, just because I like the cool critical strikes every 3 seconds. Alrighty guys, this is it for the build breakdown. It's gonna be linked in the description below as always, and you're more than welcome to ask me anything in the comments or through the Discord. This is going to be my last build guide for the Galeshot for now, since I'm really excited to bring you some Amalgam content starting next month. But for now, I'm gonna leave you with a cool combination and see you in the next one. Cheers!
you one step, fear in the face, to reach for the stars.